Welcome to Mountain Stream TV. Today is July the 28th, 2025, and I'm Ron Arps. Our mission with this series of programs is to present information about the organizations and government agencies in Jackson County that provide assistance to the people of our community in the areas of health, nutrition, education, and housing. Another focus of our interview will be to provide discussion about the changes that these programs are undergoing at the present time because of the reductions in staff and funding at the federal level of government. Today we have with us Paige Christie from the Community Table.
Hi.
Hey, Paige.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Well, we're really glad you're here. And you're going to tell us about some things about yourself, about the Community Table, the programs you run, and we'll talk about some other stuff too.
Okay,
So
great.
I'll just turn it over to you.
Okay, well, I'm Paige Christie. I'm the executive director of the Community Table. I've been in this role for 7.5 years, which means all through COVID and Helene and all the stuff this region's been going through. Yeah, we've been through a lot as an organization and as a community and as a region. Had a lot of loss and a lot of empathy and everything in between. So, yeah, we've got a lot going on. For those who don't know the Community Table, we were founded in 1999 as a fully volunteer organization, as a meal program feeding, a few people a couple nights a week. 26 years later, we're a 501c3 nonprofit with a full-time cook and kitchen manager, volunteer coordinator who makes a home-cooked meal from fresh local foods 4 nights a week, and we're feeding on average about 100 people a night right now, 4 nights a week. In 2008, during the financial crisis, a food pantry was added to the system. And that has been going strong ever since. Supplemental groceries that folks can come and get a box of groceries to help them out every 2 weeks. We also get donations of bread, local produce, all kinds of stuff that we have out in the dining area during the day. We never know what we're going to have. Sometimes we have a lot of stuff, sometimes we have a little, but folks are always welcome to walk in and see what we have, and that doesn't count against their food box. The meal is open every night we're open. Anybody can come. There's no restrictions on how many times you can come for that. We're partnered with Uncomplicated Kitchen through the end of December to have a every other Thursday cooking class where we teach people how to cook healthy foods on a tight budget, especially focused on using foods that are available in our food pantry on a regular basis. We have a little free library system that we started about a year ago, where folks can come get stuff to read and bring their old books and things, and that's really popular, especially among the kids. So we try to keep that going. Just a lot of stuff going on the side, and most recently we're partnering with the School Meals for All North Carolina program, trying to get breakfast and lunch into every county and every school in the state of North Carolina, so that it's not different county to county, and all kids have an equal chance to get a couple meals a day that are healthy and good for them, and to keep kids, on their best foot mentally and physically. So we got a lot going on all the time at the Community Table.
Well, I'll say you do.
Yep. Yeah, there's so much I could talk about. Is there anything that you specifically wanted me to get into? Because I can go off on many tangents.
Well, why don't we talk about the food pantry?
Okay.
You said it's just one day a week when people can come in?
No, we're open.
Or is that available all the time?
We're open 4 days a week, Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday, from 11 to 5:30, to try to give folks as much chance to get there as possible, because we know everybody's got different schedules and things. So folks can come any of those days anywhere in that time period, but we do have an every 2 week thing. So if somebody comes tomorrow, on a Tuesday, they can come back to run through the food pantry again 2 weeks from that Tuesday. However, they can come check out the bread and the produce that's available on the free tables anytime that we're open, and they can come for the meal all 4 nights a week. No restrictions on that. We do firmly believe that, though, if somebody is in need of more assistance than that, just talk to us. We'll work with you. There are 0 qualifications to use our services. I get phone calls every day where people go on, we're in need of a little help, and what do we need to bring? And I say, nothing. You need to bring nothing. No ID, no, some people want proof of residency or billing, or, for their electric bill. I don't care. It takes a lot of courage for someone to walk into a strange place with a bunch of strangers and say, I need help. That takes a lot of guts. Mountain people are proud. They don't want to have to do that. Nobody wants to have to do that. And so if you've got the courage enough to walk in our door and say, we need assistance, we're going to help you. We're not going to burden you with questions or what's and whys and why are you in this situation and isn't it your fault? And no. That's horrific.
Yes, it is. That seems to be a big part of the attitude that I hear coming out of Washington, is that it's your fault that you don't have this stuff. And,
yeah.
that's not the way it should be.
That's not the way it should be. And people say, well, you should pull yourself up by the bootstraps. That's parody. If you've ever put on boots and tried to pull up on them and get yourself to stand upright, it's impossible. That whole thing was satire to begin with. It's not a physical possibility. And even if it was a possibility, what if you don't have boots? The idea that no one should ever need help and everybody should be able to do everything on their own all the time is utterly ridiculous, especially if you're talking about kids and seniors, people on fixed incomes, people with health problems, people with disabilities. The idea that no one in this world should need assistance is patently absurd. And I wish you could teach empathy to people, but it seems you can't. But there should be at least a logical understanding that not everybody moves through the world the way you do. Not everybody's had the same opportunities that you do. Not everybody's had the same wins and losses that other people have had. We're all a heck of a lot closer to needing my services than we are to being millionaires.
That's for sure.
3 bad months in this, with housing costs what they are and everything around here and medical costs what they are and rising food prices. 3 months of bad luck, anybody will be at my door. And I think Helene showed a lot of people that that's true. You could have had everything in the world, and half an hour later you had nothing. And the idea that, well, you've lost everything, but I'm sorry, you're not supposed to ask for help because you should be able to do it on your own, offends me as an individual who grew up in a poor household where my mother worked, 3 jobs and my father worked 2 and had 3 kids, and we could still barely make ends meet. We were the family that my mother bought a gallon of milk and powdered milk, and she'd mix a jug of milk that was 10% real milk and the rest powdered milk to make the milk stretch until she could afford another gallon. So, and she worked hard. She was 46 years a nurse, taking care of everybody, and she was still having to do that for her kids. So, the idea that people don't work hard, the idea that people don't want better, the idea that people don't want more, the idea that people shouldn't need help, doesn't make any sense. Doesn't make any sense. So I have a problem with the attitude that, if somebody is undeserving of help, because you don't know when you're going to need help. And a lot of people can't see that. I don't have an understanding of why that is, but I recognize that that is a sad fact of the society and the world we live in, that some people seem to just not be able to connect with the pain and suffering of others. And I wish I knew how to, wave a wand and make everybody care, but that's not the way it is, unfortunately. Fortunately, Jackson County has been amazing at supporting the community table, the people of this community and the people from away. I mean, during Halloween, we had people from all over the country bring in food and supplies to our doorstep, because you could get into Jackson County from North Georgia, and we were able to be a staging area for everything that was going on in this area, and then the western side of the disaster, because people could get to us and they knew they could count on us. And we had people I had donations from as far away as Thailand, coming
Really?
in during Halloween to make sure we could get food to people. Oh, I think I counted 17 different countries that folks were from that sent us donations online to help us help people. That's a hopeful thing for the world, when people all over the world look at a situation and go, that deserves assistance, and that deserves caring, and that deserves kindness. And Jackson County has been wonderful overall at supporting what we do, as I think this county understands in a lot of ways that you need to take care of the people who aren't as lucky as you are, because you might be that unlucky person the next day if a flood water rises, or a mountain comes down, or a hurricane blows through, or a tornado hits, or you get laid off from your job, or whatever it may be. And we're not going to ask you, did you have money yesterday, and why don't you have it today? We're going to ask, what can we do to help? And that's really as it should be. So I might have opinions about things.
You're pretty opinionated,
I'm pretty
Paige.
opinionated. I am.
And it's great that we have people like you running an agency like this.
Yeah. I've got a fantastic group of staff and volunteers who just give and give and give and give and give. And they want to be there for everyone, and they want to bring down as many barriers as possible to people coming in and asking for help. And I'm always astonished by how many people can't quite believe that we don't require more of those using our services. And that's the people who are coming in, they're just shocked that they can get help without having to turn themselves inside out. And also people who are like, well, why don't you ask this and why don't you ask that? I was like, would you want me to ask that of you? Would you want me to ask these questions of you if you were in need? I mean, if you do, you're an odd man out or an odd woman out. But I think stepping back and saying, if something happened that I was in this situation, what would I want the response to be to me? Goes a long way. We try to work too with with local farmers and organizations. So we try to keep the money that people donate to us to purchase food. We actually spend a lot of that with local farmers and local organizations to keep the money in the community. So we're all about working where we are and working on the ground. We've got a grant as well for farm to table program, so a lot of what comes out of the kitchen is locally sourced meat, produce, things like that. So that's something that we believe strongly in as well, is working where you are with the people around you who also care and want to provide services, but also putting money in their pockets. So I would much rather pay a local farmer for 50 pounds of potatoes than I would go to the grocery store and buy 50 pounds of potatoes from a big corporation. If I can keep the food in the on the table and the money in the community, that's a win-win for everybody in the community. So we do a lot of that kind of work as well, and we try to advocate for that. And thankfully we've been lucky to have support specifically for that, which also matters greatly. And there's lots of ways that we get support. We have a fabulous donor base. I write a lot of grants.
Yeah, I saw that on the webpage, where the list of all the donors.
Yeah. And I've got I mean, and you know, and I write grants, and sometimes we don't get them, and sometimes we do, and you know, grants have been a little tougher to come by in the last 6 months because there's been so much need in Western North Carolina, and people and organizations that were never, you know, having to seek this kind of funding or seeking this kind of funding. So this, since Helene and the disaster, just there's a stretch on the resources in Western North Carolina as far as funding goes, and that's, you know, from individual donors, foundations, corporations, all of that. Everybody's been stretched thin. So that's tough. It's tough, but we're still working on it. We're always looking for assistance. I've got a fella who reached out online who offered to help us with a fundraising committee, and I honestly just haven't had time to get back to him because we've been so busy. We were up 2024 over 2023. The food pantry was up 25%. In the last 6 months, we're up 35% over that. That means we're up 60% in demand for our services in 18 months. That's a lot. And most of that is two-income working families with kids, demographically.
Do you have any idea what is causing that?
Several things. The cost of housing. The cost of rent and housing is, you know, forever they've said housing should not cost you more than 30% of your income. Most people I know are spending close to, if they have a roof over their heads, 50 to 70% of their income just to keep a roof over their heads. So that's before electric, water, internet, cell phone, because you can't move through this world without a cell phone. You can't even apply for a job without a cell phone these days. That's not a luxury, it's a necessity.
So true.
If you can afford a vehicle, you know, you got gas for your car, you got insurance, you've got renter's insurance, homeowner's insurance. If you can afford medical insurance, you've got that. Medication. If you've got kids, you're feeding your kids, you're buying their school supplies and clothes, and I mean, I don't know how people do it. And a lot of them don't. And so I'm always telling people, come see me. If it's gas in your car or food, put gas in your car. I'll feed you. If it's, you know, pay the electric bill or food, come see me. I'll feed you. You know, keep the roof over your head, if at all possible, and come see me for what I can do to help. I can't take care of all of it, but I can keep you fed. You know, so the cost of housing is huge. Medical expenses, insurance, if you can afford it, through the roof, as been true for years. Which I don't quite understand why we're still doing that, but that's a whole other thing I have opinions about. But there's that. Food costs are up. Cost of everything is up. There was a lot of job loss in Western North Carolina, even for people who weren't, you know, who didn't lose their homes and businesses in Helene on, you know, this side of Balsam, where we weren't quite as damaged physically, but there were a lot of people who commuted over the mountains for job to Transylvania, Haywood, Buncombe, Henderson counties. And those jobs still haven't come back for a lot of people. So people who even had good jobs, they're just gone in the wake of Helene. And the job market's real tight right now too, real tight. And so that's hurting a lot of people. The federal layoffs didn't help. People lost their jobs at postal services, at the national park, at the national forest. I mean, if you drive through the national park, picnic areas and campgrounds and all kinds of things are closed because they no longer have the staff to run them. And what does that mean for the most visited national park in the country when the tourists get mad that there's no place for them to stop and have a picnic, or the visitor center's closed because there's no staffing? They get mad and they don't come back to the area, you know? And so what does that cost us in tourist dollars? And it's long been known that the money for activity use fees in national parks and national forests outstrips what they get from managing them as the Department of Agriculture if you're a national forest, and selling off the trees to, you know, which is what national forests were managed for years, was for, you know, paper production and pulp lumber. And I grew up in a mill town, I know these things. But the recreation fees 15 years ago outstripped the income from selling the goods off the public lands itself, the recreation fees alone. And so when those areas are being shut down and those people are losing their jobs and those recreation areas are being reduced then you're losing income and your people have lost their jobs, and it doesn't make any sense to me. So I'm seeing the fallout of all of that on, the folks who live and work here, because when tourism drops off, everybody who's seasonal work, their money drops off, whether you're cleaning cabins or guiding rafts or working in a hotel or a restaurant. There's a lot of service-based jobs around here. What do? You come see me, which I'm glad you come see me. That's what we're there for. But it's not one thing. It's this spiraling series of things that are all interconnected, unfortunately. And some of them strike me as preventable, but that's my opinion on that. So yeah, I mean, just the cuts in SNAP funding alone is going to cost the state over $1 billion.
Now tell us about that.
Well, the laws that have recently been coming out of Washington means that, like, Manna Food Bank alone in Western North Carolina is going to have to find the money to provide over 3 million more meals on top of what they're already doing for the people of Western North Carolina.
And Manna is
Manna
the main supplier of food to
Manna
the
Food
community
Bank.
table?
Well, they're one of the suppliers. We try not to put, we're pretty good at not putting all of our eggs in one basket. Like 30% of our funding is grant-based, 30% is fundraisers, and 30% is private donations. So I don't put all my eggs in one basket, thank God. And that's true of our food as well. We get about a third of our food is from Manna, and another third we purchase at living wage prices from local farmers and sources, and then another third then it breaks down between donations, and we do have a local restaurant supplier of like big canned goods and things for when fresh goods are out of season that we work with for the kitchen, the big number 10 cans and things like that. We get donations from restaurants that are closing for the season, or various organizations that operate seasonally, and they have kitchens or whatever, and they'll shut down and they'll bring us all the extra and things like that. So, but Manna Food Bank, I'm going to do my food bank, food pantry difference between spiel, okay?
Okay, sure.
If you think of the United States of America as a giant filing cabinet of feeding people, the filing cabinet is an organization called Feeding America, okay? Which you might have seen them advertised on TV that certain times of the year, big corporate organizations will donate part of their profit or whatever to Feeding America. That's the big umbrella organization over which most of the food banks in the country answer to, regulatory wise, food safety training, all of this stuff comes down through Feeding America, and they are closely associated with USDA in that they work on food regulations, food safety, things like that. And then each of the drawers in the filing cabinet is the state. And within the states, there are file folders. And the file folders are the food banks. And so there may be 5 or 6 in a state, depending on the size of the state. Manna is one of those. And in each of the file folders are sheets of paper that are the food programs, the meal programs, the food pantries, folks like us. We're called partner agencies of the food bank. So the food bank is the big warehouse. They're the file folder, and we are the sheets of paper. We are the pantries. The food pantries and meal programs are the folks who deal directly with the public in serving them. So we are one of 117 partner agencies of Manna Food Bank, and Manna serves all of Western North Carolina. So when Manna and the food banks and Feeding America closely watch all the funding stuff that comes out of on the state and the federal level about all these things. And what's coming is devastating for the people of Western North Carolina, especially in the wake of Helene. Because the cuts aren't just to organizations like Feeding America and the food banks. They're also directly to the school systems, because a lot of the school systems' food comes from USDA. And when you cut $11 million out of the state, out of USDA, either the state has to find that money to fill that gap and keep food in the schools, or, frankly, kids starve. So what are our priorities here as a nation, as a state, as a community? And that's why I've been talking a lot lately with the NC organization, schoolmealsforallnc.org. And they are working very, very hard to raise awareness of the importance of breakfasts and lunches for all students across the state of North Carolina. If you've ever, I don't know if you were ever in a public school and you watch the kid in front of you get turned away at the cash register and told they had to throw their food away because they didn't have enough food in their account, and go sit in the corner and watch everybody else eat while we throw your food in the trash. That happens every day in schools across this state, and that is insane. Talk about waste.
Yes.
And so there are organizations like Community Table and people like me individually who are champions of this program. And then there's actually, and this is something, if you're a young person out there and you're age 16 to 24 and you have stories to tell about what it's like to be hungry in the schools, or to watch your fellow students be treated like that in the schools, then this organization, School Meals for All NC, has a student ambassador program where every semester they bring together a cohort of students who want a voice in what's going on in their world and in their schools and for their fellow students. And they teach networking and public speaking to these students. And there's also a small stipend for the students to help, them put money away for college or whatever, that this program offers as well. Because there's nobody more qualified to talk about how important food is to students than students. And so as an adult, I can talk about it all day long, but the students live it. And so if you're a student out there, or you know of a student out there, and again, it's 16 to 24, so high school, college, early college. If you have experience with this and you want a voice, it's just an easy Google search online, schoolmealsforallnc.org, student ambassadors, and you can fill out the form and they'll get in touch with you. I think their next cohort starts August 17th. So if you're concerned about yourself as a student or your fellow students and you want to be empowered to speak out and you got things to say, this is a way to do it. So it's not about what us so-called grown-ups are up to. It's everybody should have a voice in, who gets taken care of in our community. And this is a way for young people to have that voice. So I'm big advocate of that. You might have guessed. Yeah, important stuff.
Sounds like a good thing for some people to pursue.
Absolutely, yeah. And I wish more people knew about it, And there's this misconception that if you're in need of food assistance in school or whatever, that, there's something wrong with you or whatever. And there's a misconception that the folks who use our services are, all kinds of misconceptions. But one of the big ones is that everybody who comes to us is on SNAP, which used to be called food stamps. But we track that, and we track that because, again, back to the file cabinet, there's a whole system in the file cabinet that has to do with how much USDA food gets distributed to food banks and pantries, and that is based on the number of people in your community who use those services, who use SNAP, who are on SNAP, having SNAP benefits. And it's a very convoluted process, but that's the bottom line. And so we track that number. So we can, it's the only question that we really, really ask. And we don't care if the answer is yes or no. We're tracking that number strictly to keep that food flowing. But percentage-wise, depending on the year of the folks who use our services, and I'm talking over 13,000 individual people a year, only about 13 to 15% annually are on SNAP. Most of these people who are coming to us are hard-working people. A lot of them are two-income families. Some of them are working multiple jobs. They just need help. And they may need help once. They may have had a medical bill or a car breakdown that means they need help once. They may be on a fixed income and need to come see us every 2 weeks or a meal every night. They may not have a lot of family and feel socially isolated, and they just want to come and sit down and have a meal and a conversation with people and feel welcome. And that's what the meal program's about. Doesn't matter why they're coming. We're just glad they come. But we're not talking people who are out to work the system for the most part. You know? And I'd rather feed 2 people who don't need our help than not feed 1,000 that do. So, priorities.
Do many families come for evening meals?
Yeah. We get a lot of families with kids who come and sit down, and it's pretty entertaining. My pantry manager has put a mini basketball hoop in the dining hall, and he plays basketball with the kids a little bit. It's very funny. When he's not working the pantry, it's fairly entertaining. So yeah, we're pretty kid friendly. We get that. We see a lot of families come during the holidays, you know, because we do a Thanksgiving meal on Thanksgiving Day, and so we get a lot of folks who want to get together with their families, but they don't have the money to do a big spread, and they just come to us, and we take care of that, you know, which is super fun. Last year we had Santa there and the Grinch, and it was hilarious. And so we have a lot of fun. We have a lot of fun doing what we do because it's hard work, and we hear a lot of pain from people. But we also have a lot of joy for people finding community or figuring out that we're a welcoming space and that we're not going to judge them, and they can come in and just be themselves, and we'll help the best we can. We can't fix everything, but you know, we'll be an ear to listen, and we'll make sure you leave with a full belly. It's super hot right now. We've got a drink station set up out front of the building, so you don't even have to come inside. We've got ice water and hydration drinks on the front porch, you know, for folks who might need to cool down some. It's really hot this week, so we're worried about that for people. Yeah.
And do you have special food for kids during the summer since they're not in school?
We do, actually. MANA has what they call their summer pack program, where every 2 weeks they send us a bunch of stuff that's to fill that gap for kids that don't have those meals during the summer when the cafeteria is shut down. And for every family that comes through the pantry, we give out a couple of those kids packs for every kid in the family, in addition to the regular food pantry box.
What would be in one of those?
It's usually really kid-friendly stuff. You know, it'll be like those little fruit cups and granola bars, and sometimes it's stuff like kids like to eat that's easy for them to cook on their own, like those instant mac and cheese for the fridge. There's often like apples and bananas and things like that. So it's stuff that kids can feel empowered to eat on their own and snack on and feel like they have a benefit. But it's also, you know, like there's cans of vegetables and canned meat and things like that too, so that the family can cook it as well and incorporate it into a dinner. So it's a variety of things, and a lot of it depends on what MANA can get their hands on. And they're looking at what they can do nutrition-wise for each child, and you know, and supplement for the family as well. So and then it depends on what their funding is as far as availability to purchase things and what's available. It's a lot of this is a shell game of availability, we had during COVID, there was a time when we could not get soup. We just couldn't get it, no matter what we did. Even trying to buy it retail, we couldn't get it. So things come and go. The supply chain issues created by COVID are still lingering, because a lot of the food that was donated to Feeding America and food banks came from grocery store overflow. And grocery store overflow is all the fancy food companies decide they're going to experiment with, green mac and cheese or whatever, for St. Patrick's Day, and it doesn't sell, and then they've got an overrun, and then it gets donated, But since COVID, there's a lot of those companies aren't doing those seasonal adventures or test runs or things, and so the amount of stuff being donated through that system has been greatly reduced. So the variety available to Feeding America and to the food banks is less. So that means that we look at what Manna has and we order what we can, but if there are staples that aren't available, then I'm quite literally purchasing at retail for those items that we need, which means our budget's stretched pretty thin right now. And in the midst of our budget being stretched thin, I've decided that I'm going to try to get us a mobile food pantry, which is going to cost us, $260,000 for the vehicle, and then another $73,000 a year to run it, approximately. But in the wake of Helene, it was something we'd been talking about, and there feels like there's an urgency to it. I may not get it done this year, may not get it done next year. It may take me 3 years to get it. It took me 3 years to get a Generac, but I got that.
You're pretty persistent.
I can be very annoying. But yeah, it feels like I need to get food back out into the hollers and back up into the mountains to places where there aren't grocery stores and transit doesn't run or only runs rarely, and people who don't have vehicles, and people who in the summer they may have a garden and they're okay, but come winter they can't get out, and what are they eating? And then also in the wake of Helene, if I had had this vehicle and this system, I could have taken care of a whole lot more people. I could have gotten this thing as far up every back road to the wall of fallen trees as I could have gotten, and truck stuff, and hiked stuff in from there, or had people, there's a lot more we could have done. As much as we did as an organization, which I'm very proud of, I feel like there's more we could have done had we had a vehicle like this in place at the ready. We'd also be able to go, if there's a disaster in, on the other side of the mountains up in Boone, and another mountain comes down or something, that I could load this thing up and go help. We could assist, just like people brought us assistance when we were in need. We could return that. We could pay that forward in a way that we can't now. I could load up my van, but it's not refrigerated, and the system would be a fold-out market with refrigeration and heat, and so I could do hot and cold meals and get it. And so that's the big dream that's kind of hovering over us right now. As we keep trying to do our regular operations and meet the rising need, I'm still dreaming ahead for what's going to be better for us and the community long term, and get more help to people. So, because if you don't stop thinking ahead, then you just do what you've always done, and then where are you? And we've always done it that way is not the answer.
We need people dreaming about what really could be done. Set your mind to it.
Yep. And I have a secret life as an author, and one of my author friends, Maurice Broaddus, if you're not reading Maurice Broaddus, he's brilliant, said, if you care about people, and if you want to see the world a better place, the one thing we fail to ask ourselves regularly is, what does it look like if we win? What does it look like if we win? We think about all the things that keep us from seeing that brighter, more just world. We spend so much time thinking about that we don't think about what it looks like on the other side of it. what does it look like if we win? For me, it looks like I've got enough money to feed everybody who comes in my door. I pay my staff a living wage. I've got, 3 or 4 of these food, mobile pantries, and we're going wherever we need to go. And maybe I've got a new facility, to take care of more people. And I've got a series of classrooms in the building where people can come in and get job training and take craft classes and dance classes and learn to knit. And, and I've got a big community garden out back where people can raise their vegetables. If you're not looking at what it looks like to be in a position to do all the help you want to do, then, you're just going to be sad. And I don't want to be sad, and so, because people talk about, like, well, wouldn't it be great if you didn't have to be there? Well, that'd be a lovely goal, but that leaves out, these, 6-year-old kids who can't go get a job and, buy their own food and cook it, and that leaves out seniors on fixed incomes who, don't have a place to go and congregate. And so what's a happy ending? For some people, a happy ending is they don't need us anymore. They, they get a great job and they find a great place to live, and they don't need our services, and fabulous. And then they can come volunteer with us, For some people, the happy ending is that we exist at all.
Mm-hmm.
And we give them a space where they can feel welcome and cared for and have community and dignity. And that is in itself a happy ending for a certain portion of our population. And so I think we need to be compassionate and logical about what it means to succeed as an organization doing what we do. And so for me, I'd like to have a facility where I could just do more and more, and hopefully, again, job training center, get people set up so maybe they didn't need us as much. Would I love to reduce the amount of people who need our services? Absolutely. Do I think it's ever going away just because people need community and a place to belong and a place to help and a place to care? I don't think we're ever 100% going away. I'd love to see us not be needed quite as much. But I think there's always going to be a need for compassion, even if it's just that we have to go full live and, flat to the wall with assistance in disaster situations. There's still going to be that need. Because Mother Nature doesn't care what we think is going on.
For sure.
Yeah. So yeah, here I go having opinions again. But yeah.
So what can you use as far as help from the community?
Straight up, we can always use money. We can never have enough money. We can never have enough money. If you want to, do planned giving and leave us a bequest, we'd be down for that. If you have a foundation out there, or you are on a board of a foundation, and this is not just for us, but for other nonprofit organizations, multi-year grants for general operating dollars. No matter where you are in the country or in the world, even if you're not able to help us, help those around you in need, make the world a better place. Definitely financial assistance. Every other week we have a big manna truck that needs unloading. Ron, you know about that. You often come and help with that.
I help unload that truck.
Yep, and that can be total chaos some days. But it's also fun.
It is fun.
We're going to need we need folks who can work in the mornings, who can come help us with kitchen prep. Chopping vegetables and getting things ready for the meal. We need folks who can come serve food, wash dishes, bus tables in the evenings. We had a group come in and start to paint our building, but we've only got about halfway done. We need the other half of the building painted. If you want to paint a building, not in this heat, please don't come right now. I don't want to give anybody heat stroke. But eventually we need that done. Funding, advocacy, letting folks know we're here and letting folks know we are for them. I don't care if you're a college professor with a medical bill that has wiped you out and you need to come see us for that, couple months or whatever. I don't care if you're a what I call the I'm okays, where you're going along and everything's fine, and then the car breaks down and it goes on your credit card, and then you pay in the minimum on the credit card, and you're chugging along and I'm okay, but you're really not, because you're drowning in credit card debt every time something goes wrong. But you think somebody needs it worse than me. No, we're there for you too. Pay a little more on the credit card, let me feed you. You know, that kind of thing. We're for everybody, and I want people to know that we're for everybody and anybody. So getting the word out that we exist and that we don't have any requirements. There's an astonishing amount of people in this community that still don't know we're there. So after 26 years. So we're here.
Well,
Yeah.
I hope Mountain Stream TV will be a way that some people can learn about the
Yeah.
community table and
Yeah.
what you do. How are other ways that people can find out? Do you have a website?
We do. I say we're here, and I should tell you where. We are located physically at 23 Central Street in Silva, which is across from Poteet Park, right beside the Silva Pool. Pretty easy to find. We are the half-painted brown building. We are right there. We have our website, which is communitytable.org. We have a Facebook page, and we have an Instagram account. And mostly what I put on those is going to be what's for dinner.
That's a good thing to know.
It is. We have an event calendar on our website where you can see when the trucks are coming, if we're having special events, what's for dinner. We do have hopefully a fundraiser coming up in September, which I'll be talking about shortly once I know exactly all the details. We have, you can go on our website and you can sign up for our texting service, which we send a text just about every day. Usually it's what's for dinner, but it'll also be if, it has sheeted ice out of the sky and we need to close that day because we can't get there. That kind of information. If we're going to be closed for a holiday or whatever, like Labor Day, that will be there. We are about to start, hopefully in the next week or two, we're launching a new volunteer sign-up system, which is going to be all automated. And people are going to be able to go online, see what volunteer opportunities we have, how many people can take, sign in to be there, and then when they arrive, they're going to be able to sign our book for insurance purposes and check in and check out on an iPad, so they can track their hours that way. So for folks who have community service through colleges or organizations that they need to track their hours, they're going to be able to do that. So we're very excited that that'll be up and running in the next couple weeks.
That sounds good.
Yeah, it's going to make life easier on everybody. Just as far as knowing when you're supposed to be there and what we have that folks can do, and we'll add to that, as opportunities arise. So we've got a lot going on. But yeah, communitytable.org is where you're going to find most of our information, including how to email us, what our phone number is, 586-6782 with the 828 area code. But yeah, just if you want a tour, stop by and one of us will give you a tour. You can see, how stacked to the rafters we are, and we're going to be raising money eventually for new floors. We got the kitchen done, but the rest of the building is in desperate need. So, unless somebody wants to donate me $1 million building, I'll take it, by the way.
I've been thinking it'd be nice for Silva to have sort of a community center that would encompass, some recreation stuff, some food, whatever.
We
I
actually,
think you and I are sort of thinking along the same lines there.
yeah, there's several organizations that through the years we've done the what if we could dreaming thing, and a community connection compound, a community connection area with like playground in the middle and like mental health services here and homeless services here and free dental clinic here and Blue Ridge Health, healthcare here and feeding stuff here and a job center there, and it's all in one place, and it has regular transit, and there's a playground, and there's food, and there's you know, there's a lot of us who do this work that, you know, we have that dream too as well. But you know, where to put it, how to fund it, there's a lot of money out there in this world. I wish more of it was working for good.
Yes.
So, yeah. So, again, if you need someone with opinions, here I am.
Well, do you have anything else you want to cover that we haven't gone over already?
You know, I mean, there's always something I can think of. But the bottom line is that we're here for whoever needs us. And we always need support. And above that, we need understanding of truly what it is that we do and compassion for the folks that we help. Because tomorrow it could be you or me, you know, someone we love, someone we care about. And the bottom line is that everybody deserves to eat a good meal and feel like they belong in the world. So if I can do that for, you know, people every day, then I'm doing all right. So yeah, but yeah, come check us out, and you know, bring friends and family down. Come see us. Come get a tour. Come down if you want to come and have dinner and sit and chat with you know, the folks who are there on a regular basis. Or, you know, bring kids down. We do have volunteer opportunities for kids, especially during the meal. You know, kids love to run the drinks to the tables and things like that. Because we're not a soup kitchen in the way that you stand in line with a tray. We're a free restaurant. You know, we take your orders, we bus your tables. You know, so if you just want to experience what we do and get to know my staff and volunteers and some of the folks that we help out, come on down. Don't be shy. Yeah. And
Great.
Thanks for all the support, community.
Well, thank you, Paige, for all that you do and for coming here today and telling us about it. And we'll get this out on the web
Fabulous.
and YouTube, and people can hear all about it.
Yeah, and you know, shoot me a link and I'll post it on our newsletter and our website
We
and all
definitely
that.
will do that.
Yeah.
And we'll put all the contact information on a page at the end so people can have that to see at
Fantastic.
the end too.
Yeah, and thanks for letting me come voice my many opinionated opinions.
It's been a pleasure.
Thank you.
Thank
you
you.
so much. All right. Bye.